Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL, or Reading Between the Lines. This is the December 23rd balance adjustment preview, and this one is a pretty small one, but I think that a lot of it is really substantial, mainly the ML5. So if you didn't get to pull Archdemon Shadow, it is a missed opportunity, since just like all the boss characters so far, it is self-imprintable with 10 gold transmit stones to purchase the imprint thing. My Archdemon Shadow, out of the 3 bosses, Belly and Strays, is the only one that does not have max imprint, because I didn't really feel that it was really necessary. One, its attack, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna accidentally pull another one, so I don't know, with the buff maybe I will, but the Belly and Strays both are like max imprinted with their own unique imprinting thing. Judge Kise, Melissa, Lorina, Commander Lorina, and then all-rounder Wanda. So I'll be talking about the specialty change versions, of course, to save on time. The artifacts are big on this one too. Wind Rider looking pretty solid for those who already use Wind Rider. And Fairy Tale for Nightmare is really good now, I would say. Definitely something you want to keep your eyes on in terms of a limited artifact. It is interesting that they brought back F10 with this buff, so it probably just to upsell her. F10 is still very strong. It's just that there are a lot more ways to deal with her without like directly picking a counter to her. So for example, like ML Kawazu would be like an example, right? Not 100%, and then Violet and stuff like that. But regardless, if you're not pulling on the banner with this artifact upgraded, you know, that might change your thought process. And in fact, I did this morning. I spammed 500 bookmarks, tried to get one of these artifacts. I didn't get one. just to limit break my current one, which I pulled from the original banner when she was released. Regardless, anyways, let's talk about this. So Archdemon Shadow, I've always rated her to be like one of those hidden gems, right? The sealing mechanic is unique to her still at this point. It is very strong, but when it lands, right? So the very fact that, you know, sometimes you don't land a proc because it's 75%, and then you have resistance check, there's a lot not going for it. So she would have to basically sustain past immunity, or if you ran her on Violin, which again, Violin may not be her best in slot artifact going from here on forward, but if you had that, you'd have to wait for like them to have no immunity, and then by the time they have no immunity, like, are you going to be able to land it? Sometimes she doesn't proc her S2, so sealing increases the chance of proccing the S2. So like, you know, like there's a lot of RNG, but when she did pop off, she was really good. I myself, last season of World Arena, I got killed by Archdemon Shadows. It's always like a non-expected pick in the meta, but she just has that RNG aspect with high bulk, and is able to, you know, do S3, which is non-counterable, so like Violet didn't do anything to her, and she can seal and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of stuff going for her. So like this, I think her buff is probably the strongest buff in terms of the character. I would say maybe all-rounded Wanda looking pretty good too. But out of all the characters here, which isn't a big patch, she is definitely the highest quality. First concern I have, although really good, is that this is another hint of the power creep, but I guess this is not something that they can really prevent, right? So originally 10 soul burn, which is what she had, as you can see on the left, increases the chance to 100%. You still have the effect resistance check, but in my opinion, 100% proc is 100% proc. I mean, think about the times where like an FCC like provokes, or now C Armin provokes on the S1. Like a provoke is probably not as big as a seal for sure, especially in the full kit of ADS, but like you won't go like, oh man, I wish there was a soul burn so I can like ignore effect resist for that provoke, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel that's the case, although her full kit is pretty much all like hinged on like actually sealing your opponents. But you know, when I originally rated Archdemon Shadow, is that seal mechanic is just really powerful. I'm not quite sure if this is the right direction. Don't get me wrong, this is a good buff, alright? This is a good buff for Archdemon Shadow users, or Archdemon Shadow lovers, or people who wanted to use her. This is absolutely a good buff. The thing is though, we've never had ignore effect resistance cost only 10 souls. So unless that's a typo, we are looking at this kind of new power creep. And let alone this ignore effect resist is absolutely like, it can cripple like a team, right? It could cripple a full hero that requires that passive to be enabled, right? So good buff. I'm not quite sure. I think they're probably hesitant to make it 20 souls because then people will be complaining about it. It's like, oh, I would rather take that 15% chance to not land it but only cost 10 souls instead of ignoring effect resist and then cost 20 souls. Like, you know, people debate that kind of stuff all the time. You know, I roll a bit, but it is probably, and the other thing is maybe Bellion. So maybe Smelgate is thinking like, you know, if Bellion is like drafted and she eventually dies, you can start gaining souls, but like, are you gonna have enough time before your team dies to be able to gain 20 souls to ignore effect resist? So there, this is again, like I said, like overall, there's a lot of questions around this, but it's just, it's good. It's really good, but kind of always like a bit on like, kind of scary to have ignore effect resist cost only 10 souls, because like what does that tell you about new heroes in the future, and then what does that tell you about current heroes with ignore effect resist mechanics that cost 20 souls? Like, are they going to be buffed so that they're 10 souls in the future? Not quite sure. Anyways, maybe a bit too much rambling there, but let's talk about the twisted power. So after has a 40% chance to activate burst, so everything else is the same. I mean, just keep in mind that she does have a really packed kit, right? Ironically, she can't be sealed, at least in World Arena, because if you draft her, no one can seal her. But she does have damage mitigation really good, so crit damage decrease by 30%, which is huge. That's proof of valor level. So if you pair with an Aureus, let's say Crow with defense buff or FCC with barriers, we're talking about a lot of mitigation. She's really hard to kill off, right? And this is what I mean, like I've gotten wrecked by her multiple times as the only damage dealer, right? I thought, like, you know, I banned the threat, she was left, and I was like, okay, no worries, right? Like, you know, I'll be able to kill her, but no, she ended up killing me. Yeah, so 40% chance to activate burst, so the effect is doubled when the target is sealed, right? So we're talking about a 70% to an 80% boost. That's huge. And then when she does do burst, it is a 60% chance to do a hit chance decrease, so blind debuff for 1 turn before increasing combat raise by 25% and gaining 1 focus. So with this being 10 soul burn, ignoring effect resistance, she's gonna have a lot more what the players call tempo. So in terms of like, she's not just waiting for her own turn. I mean, she's CR boosting herself. So we're still talking about a lot of RNG rolls, but this is already looking very, very solid, right? So already boosting the S2 chance. I don't even know if that was a necessary buff, to be honest, but they gave it to her anyway. So, you know, with the S1 being just super powerful, the S2 just being already really good, getting an additional 5% even if you don't land a seal, right? So if they counter you, if they hit you and let's say you're on counter set, you do an S1, you don't seal, but you still have a 40% chance to burst, and that will gain you combat readiness boost. And again, we'll be talking about Fairy Tail Tenebria's artifact paired with her. I think this is going to be insane. I think this is going to be actually really crazy. And then gaining 1 focus, and then Disillusion after has a 70% chance to decrease the defense for 2 turns. Like, what the frick? Like, to me, this is just like, okay, well, let's look at the Awakened version. To me, this is just like, this is unnecessary power. Like, I would like take the S1 there. All right, awesome. All right, so usually they have to, you know, showboat either two skills max or 2 skills minimum, but then maybe 3 skills. This is like a bit too crazy to me. Attacks all enemies with power of Iris, and then has a 70% chance to decrease the defense for 2 turns. So two turn decrease defense buff AoE with 100% to inflict 2 burn effects for 2 turns. So burning, defense break does affect the amount of burn damage done. So burn damage already ignores an X amount of defense, but defense breaking already, like, defense breaking will reduce that even further. So having high defense still mitigates burn to a certain degree, but if you defense break and the burn, like, and they get burned on that turn, that's really crazy. That's really crazy. So in terms of just overall, I feel Archdemon Shadow right now, looking at this. Oh, sorry, and then, but not only that, so just in case you're not familiar with her kit, the original, of course, grants a caster an extra turn. This skill cannot trigger a counterattack. So she's very safe to pull this off, although it is focus driven, it is not a cooldown. It's just insane. I can picture this in my head as I pictured her before in the past, like how she would work when she has all the stars aligned. Like she can just solo with ML Lilius, which I made a ML Lilius initial thoughts video. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out on my YouTubes. I think she's gonna be really well paired with her when we're talking about, like, let's say non cleave comp, still kind of safe, but Lilius with the dual attack, depends on who you have drafted. Oh man, just having that extra damage with the F10 artifact on Archdemon Shadow is going to be insane. So Archdemon Shadow, I think honestly she's going to be a pretty safe, after this buff, she's going to be a pretty safe high pick rate in terms of World Arena. She's not going to be a last pick. She can be as safe as almost even a third pick, I would say. Heck, even some people might build teams around her, so have her first pick. But I don't know about the first pick part. You need quite a bit of setup. I would say that there's still quite a lot of first pick right now that would overshadow her. However, I definitely think that she will be picked a lot more and not last pick stuff. Like definitely has the sustain, will be able to do damage with new artifacts. I don't know, man. I feel that this buff is insanely good. It's really good. I think it's definitely what she needed to be put up in the boss category with Strays and Bellion. So I'm very satisfied with her buff. I don't think it's too overpowered right now. I definitely think that like, if anything, it would be like, okay, ignore effect resist, okay fine, I understand, like that's a big thing, right? And then the 40%, okay fine, that's only 5%, and then you double that, you get a 10% extra. Okay, but then the defense break, that part is like, I don't know about this one, okay? I don't know about this one. The defense break is a bit like excessive to me, but that's just my opinion. Judge Kise, End of Evil, decrease hit chance for 1 turn. So this is her S2, okay? Soul Burn for this grants an extra turn. Well, let's just keep moving. So instead of dispelling on the S2, you get a hit chance down. So basically a blind for 1 turn. In my opinion, just like a summary before we even finish it, if this was a 2-turn one, I wouldn't even think that's too OP. But that's just for Smilegate note there. Attacks all enemies by distorting space and time. Well, let's look at the awakened version. Attacks all enemies distorting space and time, and has a 80% chance for each to dispel 1 buff, and then increase the skill cooldown 3 times by 1 turn. So originally it was, if we read the 75% chance to increase cooldown 3 times by 1 turn. So 3 separate rolls of 75% chance, which is pretty high. Now you get that 80%. You get 80% chance each to dispel 1 buff. And then increase, so you get an 80% chance to dispel, whereas originally for End of Evil was a 75% chance to dispel. So all in all, yeah, you can say that this is definitely a buff. On paper, it's a buff, and then grants a skill nullifier once to the caster. Damage dealt increases with more enemies. So it's really just a bit flipped. I think functionally will be the same if you're doing like Oxlot's Judge Kise Cleave. Now the question is, like, now with the skill nullifier granted, it is protection for her to go into like characters that would counter. The issue is that if you're using her to cleave into double counter, she still might not survive. So let's say, for example, you Oxlot's Judge Kise into, let's say, the more prominent meta, like without a Bellion, of course, because you still need the souls. But you'll save her life by 1 hit, right? So like, let's say Rem and Rimuru are in the defense team or whatever, and you cleave with her, you grant the skill null, but you have an attack buff, so there's one of them is gonna break the null, the other one's gonna damage her. So is that enough, right? Is that enough? I'm not quite sure. I'm not saying that she deserved a non-counterable AoE. But like someone like Landy already has that, so I'm not quite sure if this is if this is the step in the right direction for Judge Kise specifically, now the difference would be, oh, there's also a change in the raw damage, but the damage is also increased. There is one thing I will note in this video, just in case the devs get a whiff of this video. I would definitely suggest that they would be more transparent about the damage mods. We have been screwed over like this before. I have had guildmates rebuild, what's his name? Church of Iroh's Axe or whatever. So Chaos Axe, Axeman. Like rebuild him just because like on paper when on the buff, like, oh, he's HP scaling bruiser now, he does like I think it's like defense pen to light elemental or something. It's like, so he's gonna be the dark version of LQC, so end of Golden Boys. So like, Golden Boys sort of ended with just new heroes. It wasn't even because of Chaos Axe, but like I've had guildmates like, you know, put like make them 6-star, use the catalyst, and preemptively did that. Now obviously that's their own fault for like just, you know, getting too excited and then already building something that they may have not been tested. But the issue is that I definitely think that when there's stuff saying that there's a readjustment in damage, I definitely think that it would be good for them to be more transparent and just release the modifiers. Like, they know very well there's data miners just like digging that information out anyway, so why won't they just tell us, you know what I mean? So there are skill descriptions in the game, which I used to make fun of. It's like, it does big damage. I'm like, what does that even mean, right? So increased damage dealt, this kind of stuff is always like, we gotta see, because they always, when this kind of stuff happens, buffs like this happen, like skills that were stronger, like let's say the S2 was stronger in Judge Kise's case, is now the S3. They do little things to shadow nerf. So like just reading the changes within the raw damage and the skill enhancement is not enough to actually know what this looks like. So are they just flipping the mods like S2 into S3, S3 into S2? We don't know. All we know is that this increases damage dealt. I don't know what that means, so we'll have to see. So but the issue is, I guess the damages may not be the main concern for her. The one thing that to consider is that, okay, let's look past Judge Kise's Oxlot's type of cleave, right? Maybe there's other ways to use her. So now thinking about that, you still really need 20 souls to make her very, very good. Outside of that, she would have been very similar to what she was like before. She is granting a skill null on the S3, so that might give her some play as a speedier DPS. So there were already people in the past running Judge Kise as a fast DPS, so 115 base speed, I believe, so it's really fast for a warrior, and then of course the decent damage. The very fact that now she gets the dispel on the S3 with the cooldown, that might give her more play. You might see her more for speed as a speedier DPS. So originally, especially in an AI driven comp, even if she was fast, if you have full immunity, that really wouldn't do much, because I believe her AI priority is S3 first and then S2. So the strip or the dispel was on the S2, so you couldn't really, you know, change the cooldown time at all, because most likely people are running immunity. Now, this change is necessary for when people did run immunity, because of Rimuru though, a lot of people are not running immunity again. So this change feels like it's like, oh, it's a good change, I guess, but then not for the meta. So overall, I think, again, like I said, on paper, if her damage isn't actually shadow nerfed, even though this says damage dealt, and is actually increased with the changes, I feel that it is a buff. It's more of a lateral buff. Again, I think that the only thing that would change with this is that we might see more Judge Kise's being trialed as a fast DPS instead of someone that relied on Oxlot Soulburn. Again, the issue is that Bellion exists, so anything that required that 20 soul Soulburn for Judge Kise, that was instantly killing Judge Kise. But there were other stuff that killed Judge Kise anyways long before. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Judge Kise there. Melissa has gone through multiple revisions. It's very obvious that Smilegate has not really given up on her. She is, I guess, one of their favorite waifus. This is her, what, third or fourth even buff, maybe even fourth buff. But correct me if I'm wrong. It might be third for sure, but it could be the fourth. I might be missing something in between. But manifestation, so originally granting the immortality to cast for 1 turn, and the cooldown is reset when this enemy is defeated. Now it grants immunity for the cast for 1 turn. So I mean, if she's built fast and you needed her to be immune, because technically you do, ideally you want her to have immunity after. So this could be good. So build her fast, maybe on pen set, without immunity, and then she grants the immunity for herself. But it does depend. Dispel all buff from an enemy before attacking, releasing a pent-up aggression, cursing for 2 turns regardless of whether attack hits, which is actually a good thing, I suppose, just because, I mean, well, I like, is it good? I guess I'm not quite sure. The skill is unaffected by elemental disadvantage, and then elite boss and monster cannot be cursed. So really, it's really the same thing, regardless of whether the attack hits. I don't know. I guess you bring it into more evasion, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but then she doesn't have hit up, so I'm not quite. I'm not quite sure about this one. Maybe I don't know what the design scenario is for this one specifically. But because if you curse, let's say a violet, and you don't hit, like you have immortality, but like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Like the curse won't kill them if you don't hit them. So that's what I don't know. I'm kind of confused about that one. Oh, I was reading the unawakened version, but awakened version is really just the granting the extra turn. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a buff. Let me read their intent here. Ability to inflict curse. Had to land her blood bloom on the target in order to exercise her strength and not be influential enough in battles. With these adjustments, will assure this hero to inflict curse to the target regardless if the skill lands or not. Also using manifestation following blood bloom will grant mortality and immortality, making better circumstances for the hero. Okay, so I think the intention behind it was that they actually don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this one. I don't think this is a big enough deal for me to dust off Melissa. Again, I am not, you know, one of the people that are, oh my goodness, Melissa still looks like crap. Come on, give her something more OP. Because I think that there's a lot of heroes now, and I don't have enough gear anyway. So like, if Melissa looks bad, whatever, just, you know, on to the next one, right? You know, sometimes I'm wrong, of course. You know, I'm human. Sometimes I'm wrong, and I don't know about this one though. Personally, I just don't feel that she's gonna be used more. Maybe just like a bit more, like talking about 2%, or people who really love her will dust her off to try her out. But I don't think so. I don't think, especially I think they're still designing her for PvP. Nothing here tells me that she's gonna be PvE now. Especially this, right? You can't even curse bosses or elite monsters. So I'm not quite sure about this. PvP, I don't know. I think she's gonna struggle the same way. The immunity is kind of nice, I suppose. You already have the immortal anyway, so it's like if you worry about Rimuru stealing, the immunity is not a big issue, right? So like that's what I'm kind of meaning here. Commander Lorina, it is interesting though. It is definitely more PvE even. So maybe an adjustment for players who want to use her. Like, I mean, early on players would adapt Commander Lorina. I still use her in my regular raids, so not hell raids, regular raids, because she just gives really good morale. So I mean, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with the spiral breakthrough giving the 20% more damage to the boss monsters. Very, very happy about that. But they're making her oh, no, never mind. I read wrong. No, this is really good. Yeah, so definitely PvE. PvE main hero. Damage dealt proportional to target's max health. So target would be the opponent, right? So it's not the caster. So yeah, so it's not HP scaling bruiser. I actually misread that before. This is target's max health. So yes, so it's just like she's absolutely there to rip through bosses And like I said, because I use her in Labyrinth, I think that's good. Increase defense by additional 5%. I think it's much necessary for the meta, but it would just, again, helps with PvE fights. And then increase combat readiness, spiral breakthrough by 15%. This is increasing by 5. Let's see here. Yeah, no, not much really to talk about. Again, PvE hero. And in these balance adjustment, we've been more or less seeing a PvE hero getting buffed. I don't mind her getting buffed. She'll work. All-rounder Wanda is looking to be pretty good. I am definitely thinking about actually rebuilding her. I never had to feel like I needed her for the Violet meta. The Violet has a lot of ways to deal with now, not directly either. Like you can have Senya, which is very high rate of actually being able to kill Violets on her own. You have Milim recently released, Zahak. You have Pilis rather, for the for kind of like mitigating against Violets and keeping him crowd controlled. You always had all-rounder Wanda to deal with Violet if you did, but in my opinion, I think this buff is a bit beyond Violets. I don't think the intention here is really like, yeah, I didn't read their intentions. I usually don't, because I think that would bias or turn how I would naturally see these buffs. Regardless, I don't think that their intention is to make another Violet counter, because I think that they've released enough. And then just the very fact that like Violet right now is not too strong right now. He's like where I would feel like he's where he needs to be. So he can still be used, but he's not gonna be like absolutely dominating the world arena scene anymore. She is built for other reasons. This is what I feel. So the Struce arrow at the enemy decreases combat readiness by 15%, and damage dealt increases when when the enemy is targeted. They already did this before, but the damage dealt and the combat readiness had to be done if they were targeted. Now the decreased combat readiness is just for free. They do not need to be targeted. In her awakening runes, she actually gains 15% CR boost every time she does use weak point. So now we're talking about a hero that is able to CR push back and CR boost herself. This was actually Cerise's original design. It was CR pushback with CR boost. I forgot which skill. I think one of the skills she had, was it S2? I think it was the S2. And then they changed it by removing that completely and having restrict being able to not push back nor push up. That was originally Cerise's kit before she got released. So it is interesting that they're releasing this onto her, which gives all-rounder Wanda, I mean, no pun intended, an all-rounder use. Okay. I had to force it. One shot, one kill awakened version now is instead of unhealable, which has always been weird. I mean, you never use it for the unhealable, but you always use it for the 2-turn stun. Now it's decreased speed for 2 turns. That's incredibly oppressive. So consider the 2 heroes that have speed down and stun in the same kit. Tywin and Cerise. We all know the turn cycling. If Tywin lands the full team speed down and stun, and he only has a 1 stun, by the way, 1 turn stun, you already know how insane his cycling is. With his soul burn, Tywin at his prime was insanely annoying to deal with. Cerise being in the Guild War defense scene for way too many seasons, in my opinion. She is still there. With new partners to be paired up with, predominantly Summertime Assyria. We all know how crazy it could be if you were to bring a team into Cerise without enough cleansing, without enough resistance. You have speed down landed, you have a stun landed. You know how detriment that is. That speed down with Cerise's base speed, insanely good. Now, I'm not talking about all-rounder Wanda being as fast as Cerise. I don't think she can be, even technically. She is a Gemini, but she is a 3-star hero, so her speed is definitely on the slower side. But that being said, it is 2 turn stun with 2 turn speed down, which means that if you can imagine those scenarios I painted, that's cycling for the rest of your team members, how amazing would that be, right? So in my opinion, that's insanely good. Achievement rune increased the hit chance of weak point by 70%. So originally it was 40%, now it's 70%. So now she does not need to run anything like no one really ran Symbol of Unity on her, but some people felt that they still needed a hit chance up artifact to be able to, like, you know, reliably use into a Violet or something, even though they usually just one shot with the one shot one kill. But this is now like even better. So basically she cannot miss Rylets on S1, she cannot miss Immersa, she can't miss Violet. She has a very high chance of hitting even if she is blinded. So in very big change. So yes, while you can even more safely bring her into evasion teams, still I don't think that is her main deal. 100% chance to, the speed rune changed, so 100% chance to grant stealth for 1 turn at the start of the battle. So this means that she does not need guiding light for that first turn protection. If you use one shot one kill, it is not written here but it's in her awakenings, after using one shot one kill she has stealth for 2 turns. So in terms of if you are fighting a team predominantly going single target, because right now in World Arena I think there's a very good balance between, like, okay, do I draft AoE or do I draft single target? There's a very good hesitancy to that. There's a lot of single target right now, and so Spec Tenny value goes up again. But with her, she has that stealth for on the first turn, so you don't have to build her really fast. You don't have to build her like an assassin call. You gotta get that first turn before you can go into stealth and hide. So she has stealth guaranteed at least for 3 turns, the turn that she starts with, and then 2 turns thereafter if you use one shot one kill. So very nice. Of course you still have guiding light if you feel that you need it. I don't necessarily think so. I think if you don't finish your fight within the time of her still, like, not being in stealth, like if you don't finish the fight within the time of her being in stealth, I think you've misdrafted, or you didn't pick, or you just lost the draft. I think that's basically it. The one shot one kill now also decreases the buff duration by 1 turn before the effect. So this means now she can, you know, stun and speed down Remnant Violet if they have immunity. She can do this on Violet if they have immunity, or anyone who has immunity. But regardless, even if it is not just to deal with immunity, reducing that buff duration, a very good one, just for this effect. So how do I see her build? If she is not there to deal with Violet, but if you can turn cycle her quick enough, maybe pseudo damage with some effect, I'm not quite sure, but maybe you just remain with what you've already done. Usually I've seen all-rounded Wandas being used for like you know, like 200, 220, 230 speed, almost like a Briar Witch type of level of like damage. So DPS like that. If I remember correctly, her damage mods are actually insanely high for nuking damage. So if you have her on Portrait, and if Soulburn does extra damage, I believe, I think Soulburn does extra damage, she can nuke out targets like single. She's a legit single target nuker. So something to consider, that she could be on a Portrait and you run an attack buffer with her, like ML Charles or something like that, and I think she would be pretty good. I just think that the stun, 2-turn stun combo, speed combo with a D-spell is insanely good, with that 70% chance and 15% CR boost pushback while pushing herself up. I can definitely see her being a kind of annoying type of, if you can say, assassin callie, but a more reliable assassin callie even. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on her. Actually, in fact, she's like better than assassin callie in a way, outside of her consistent damage like assassin callie can duel out, but because she can stun with dispelling, where assassin callie would have to basically waste the S3 just to nuke and not stun. Anyways, artifact wise, Wind Rider now has the 60% increased attack split 20% innate, so just flat on, so that will stack with attack buffs and stuff like that. So it looks pretty good. That looks pretty good already. And then when you have defeated the enemy, then they go into stealth and the caster's attack is increased by 40%. So really what you're getting is the same thing if you kill, but if you don't kill, you have increased attack. So very, very nice. So like I said, I don't think this will change the way that Wind Rider is used. Maybe we'll see it on some speedy, like maybe on a fast Remnant Violet. That might be okay. Just going to stealth, you know. But I'm not quite sure. Like I think some people are saying like Spez. If your Spez is already on Wind Rider, this will just make them better. So those who are already using Wind Rider will just have additional benefit from it, and there might be some use for heroes who can self attack buff with Wind Rider. I think we might see a use there. I definitely think we can see a use there. Maybe Celine, maybe even Celine. If you're not using Celine into a very bulky comp, maybe Celine will benefit from that, but I don't know if her stealth is necessary. She does get an evasion by the time she gets a turn. So okay, so now here's the big one, right? So Fairy Tale for Nightmare definitely now looking like a limited artifact. Now originally when it was released, as you can see on the effects on the left, fixed damage, this is assuming you plus 30. Fixed damage is 1500, so that's very, very strong. That's stronger than most SSBs on max attack builds with Specialty Drink. Specialty Drink still had to go through defense check. Fairy Tale for Nightmare, because it's fixed damage, does not need to go through defense check. So yes, while it could be low damage comparably if you're hitting squishies, but they should be dead anyway, or very close to dead. But it is very, very high value going against high HP, high defense type heroes, since fixed damage just basically, like it says, it ignores, right? It ignores completely. Nothing can affect the fixed damage. I do believe the fixed damage can be absorbed by Aureus though, so that is something to keep in mind. But now the effect is that after an extra attack, counter attack and dual attack, has a 60% chance to dispel one buff from the target and 100% chance to deal 1500 fixed damage. Now I do think that there is quite an important difference between if the caster attack when it's not their turn, So in this case, this extra attack, in my opinion, now works with someone like Milim. I do not believe, I might be wrong here, but I do not believe the original function would work with someone like Milim, because Milim, when she charges her full focus, it is technically still her turn. So I'm not quite sure if this applies. The very fact that they broke it down to all three, you'd be like, well, these are all conditions when it is not their turn. I think the extra attack is setting up for something that is like I said, like Milim, but that I might be wrong. Now, is there any other reason why they're more specific? I don't know. But the extra attack, when I saw it, it was just like, oh yeah, it feels more like a Milim thing. Wait, no, that's even not just a Milim thing though. Archdemon Shadow would directly get a buff from that too. So like I said, I think this is definitely a really, really strong artifact now for mages that are set out to deal damage and has innate debuffs. So Archdemon Shadow, in my opinion, has a very, very high use rate for this. I think Champion Zerato could steal. So Champion Zerato has like 3 major artifacts, right? So Proof of Valor, mainly for like Guild War type deals, like Violin, and I have seen Champion Zerato's use Fairy Tale for Nightmare in like World Arena and stuff like that. This now I believe is strong enough, 60% chance to dispel one buff from the target. So that's identical to Violin, except that you're missing 20% proc rate. Violin at plus 30 is 80% dispel chance, 60% here, but I think I'm gonna take that 50-50, if you know what I mean. And able to do do fixed damage. So like I said at the beginning of this video recording, I've spent 500 bookmarks trying to pull for that artifact. I did not get one. I ended up caving, just getting it straight from the powder shop. If you don't have this artifact and you don't have F10E, 100% pull for the banner. But if you do have F10E and maybe you want to throw a spare couple, maybe chase the artifact. I think this artifact is actually really, really good. Now, my question would be that does the 60% hit, 60% chance to dispel, is this also scaling based on the level of the artifact? That is my concern. So in terms of like, you know, before we get to see this buff implemented, I think the banner would be gone already, right? So it says the improvements will be on the 23rd. I think the banner is gone already. So this is a note for people who are hesitant on this. I think the artifact at plus 30 is absolutely amazing. If you don't have the ability to plus 30 this artifact, my concern is that does the proc rate for the dispel chance, is it lower, or are you getting this base, right? Wait, actually maybe did they say it? This artifact will more likely play part in the battle as effective. Dispel random buff. Additional, the chance to dispel one buff, the chance to deal additional damage remains 60 and 100% each, regardless of. Okay. This is good. All right, so no worries. Additional notice. So they had to put this, right? Like list this, like, okay, we know Dragon doesn't read, so let's put this like additional notice. There you go. That solves my worry. So absolutely pull for this artifact, or if you don't pull it, get the powder. Right, so I guess the only difference would be the fixed damage will be lower if you have a lower level one, but this artifact even now has more value. Heck, I might even try to spam shop to be able to pick up an additional copy and try to max limit break 1. But anyways, that's my opinion. I definitely think that this will be best in slot for Archdemon Shadow. Violin will have 20% more proc rate, but with all of Archdemon Shadow's crazy procking mechanics, I'll take the 60% dispel with some fixed damage. So I'm very, very excited about this one. But really, Archdemon Shadow, Fairy Tale for Nightmare, all-rounder Wanda, I think these are the only 3 things that are really highlighted to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What you guys think about the individual heroes. What are you excited for? I'm pretty sure most people will be excited for the ones I'm excited for here. Maybe even Wind Rider, I guess, but I don't use Wind Rider myself, so I don't see a benefit there for myself. But other than that, I will end this for the video recording. So if you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.